Jesus of Nazareth, or Yeshua in other words. He has a lot of different names. To me, this white Jesus is an imposter. To black people, this is our true God. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. The Europeans had a way of basically whitewashing every single thing in history. Now, if you believe the white Jesus and you're white, there's no problem with that for me. White people need a God too, right? I just feel like every accolade that a brown person has, white people always feel the need to whitewash it and change the frame. And that's always agitated me. When the European goes anywhere, they always switch things up. Even with Babaji, he's a very high-level spiritual teacher, and they even made him white. There's a lot of different theories about Babaji and his powers and who he taught and how powerful he was. I personally believe that he taught Jesus, and to see that they're painting him to always be alone and always be white is kind of weird. Let's start talking about something really, really important. So this religious figure basically appeared around the time he appeared in the first century. He showed up and just started going against like the norms, basically telling people, you need to fast for 40 days. Don't, kill women. Don't throw rocks at women that are promiscuous. Let them enjoy their sin. Not like as crucial as that, but like as in like, let them be. You know what I mean? And he was just going around, really telling his truth and connecting to 12 disciples. But somehow he was able to, do miracles, make water into wine. Resurrect after 3 days. He made people that were blind have vision again. How extraordinary. Healed people with paralysis. Controlling weather. Walking on water. There was a funeral service happening for somebody. He came in there and said, "Come to life," and brought him back to life. He also was an exorcist for somebody who had demons in him. Oh, and don't forget this. He said, "Anything I can do, you can do." He basically predicted where the fish were going to be in the water. Now, I've heard a lot of different things about Jesus myself. I've experienced his wave in my life, being born into, I would say, a more darker version into his religion, because I really feel like people took his words and misconstrued it. The fact that we have to be circumcised the moment we're born is kind of strange, and this man was not a normal person. He wasn't, some white man. Turns out that white picture of that man was actually this guy was actually like a slave master who did a lot of terrible things, including sleeping with his sister. A lot of things that Jesus didn't do, by the way. So, yeah, it's just good that you know that. I watched this film called The Zeitgeist, and it made me realize that there were a lot of other people just like Jesus. And his words were misconstrued, his paintings were misconstrued. The white painting of Jesus actually is a foreigner who sleeps with his sisters and committed a lot of dark genocidal things. So who were we worshiping when we called on Jesus instead of Yeshua? The main thing, or his purpose, was just to awaken the Christ within. He really wants us to copy him. He's the way, basically, is what he's saying. And do you really get anything out of worshiping if you're not changing within and actually being Christ-like? I think that was the message. Basically, use his teachings to get to our higher self. Avoiding promiscuity, avoiding overeating because of parasites and things like demonic entities trying to sink themselves into you, because it seems like the nature of this planet, the demiurge, is to keep you trapped here. And that's why Jesus never really felt comfortable being on this planet. hence the 40-day fast, and him teaching us certain things to avoid the lower ways. I've heard things like Jesus being a shapeshifter, being a student of the gurus in India. This is why he came here doing so many miracles, and he honestly didn't care to be noticed. But when they started documenting him the day they killed him, right? He blew up everywhere. It's like he touched everybody. And a lot of different gods have done this. Buddha, Shiva, Allah. They do a lot of things to help the planet, and then they become, it's like a big spiritual wave just is attached to this earth after they visit. Almost like high-level aliens or something, but they're not alien. They're very human, but they have higher ways about them that, either they learn at 30 years old or they just know when they come immediately. These mythical things happening, like so many people talking to me about this person that I've never met, but he's connected to the world in so many ways. The cross. One thing I don't like about the cross is that they took the woman out in the main religion. The cross, the Holy Spirit, the God, and then Jesus Christ. Where's the woman in that? In Hinduism and in certain other religions, they have the divine feminine and the divine masculine. But in religion, it's just God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, which always confused me. It's like they're trying to act like the woman isn't divine. Very puzzling. But what I noticed about Jesus was he was just, everybody knew him, knew of him. He was praised. He didn't make any mistakes, which I'm sure is a lie. I'm sure he's made mistakes. You guys gotta stop putting these people on a pedestal like they're perfect in every way. Now, they are definitely moving at a higher way, but I'm sure Jesus made a lot of mistakes too. To get to his level, there's no way you can go your entire life without making any mistakes. You get what I'm saying? Now, but you can feel his presence. I remember going into a place where it was just like a bunch of white paintings of the Jesus that, it wasn't black paintings in this Haitian household, but it was a lot of white paintings, and it kind of made me a bit uncomfortable because I know who the white painting is. It's not the real Jesus. Anyways, I felt the presence of whatever that being was, rather if it was the fake or the real Jesus. And I feel like Jesus visited me in dreams before, but obviously it could just be my subconscious creating him, because you've never really met him in the physical form. I feel like until you meet Jesus physically, I think you can still speak to him, but you can't really say you saw God in a dream. A lot of high-level spiritual people have told me that anything can happen in a dream, but have you actually met the man? A lot of atheists always say, you haven't met him, so he isn't real. Personally, I don't believe that. I think he's a very real person, but where is he? Where has he been? Why has he been hiding from us? Why can't we meet him? How long has he been gone? If he resurrected after 3 days, did he automatically ascend into heaven? Everybody keeps saying he's going to come back. When is he coming back? Why hasn't he came back? When he comes back, is he going to destroy everything? Is he going to rebuild this world for us? What is he going to do when he returns? I've had a lot of side stories with Jesus. And, when I meet these Christians and I talk to them, I'm like, how do you see Jesus in your head? These are black people, by the way. And they're always like, oh yeah, I always see a white man in my head. And I remember when I was younger, every time I would see a black Jesus, I would always be like, that's not the real Jesus, in my head, like a fucking dumb little prick that I was. Fuck my old old, so I'm playing. I mean, you didn't know better. But it's like, it's literal brainwashing. These people would use this biblical man to enslave people and tell them, you have to obey your master. Yes, you have to forgive those who hurt you, kill you, murder your children, and eat you alive. Forgive them, for they not know what they do. Man, get that shit out of here, bro. These people would change and remix the religion to suit themselves. They really got some people in Christianity docile, moving with a towel, right? And if a man comes in their home, not all Christians. This is like, there's some Christians that are aware of the real word of Jesus. Like, they understand that Jesus wouldn't want them to, like, if a man came in your house right now and tried to kill your whole family, Jesus wouldn't want you to just sit there and take it and pray to God for help. No, Jesus would want you to fucking fight that man off and protect your fucking family like you're supposed to do. But the biblical Bible has you believing that you can just be peaceful and you'll be protected. Now, I definitely believe you can pray for protection and that he will protect you. I definitely believe that. There are like cases where there was like a priest and a woman, and she was praying in her house, like praying to God, and this serial killer came in to kill her, and there was a force, like it was literally like Jesus or God, whatever you believe in the Christian faith, right? That was stopping him from entering that home. Like, he couldn't go in because the force was stopping him. I believe that if you're at a high level in Christianity, you can bring that force about. And yeah, you may not even have to fight a man that's coming to kill you. But I feel like if you're still under human terms and somebody comes in your house to murder your family, as a Christian, you better protect your household. That's what God will want you to do. You don't have these muscles for no reason. And there's a lot of theories, and people say like he didn't even exist. There's some people who say that he came about, but he wasn't as strong or biblical as people say he was. There's a lot of different, theories on who this man even was, or even if he existed. Was he just written into history? There's a lot of things people don't know about this person. My theory is either he genuinely was real. I mean, I think he was real because of all of the wave of energy for him is so damn big. So I personally think he was real. Or we created him. Everybody believing in him. And just believing this tale that existed brought him about. There's theories that Slender Man exists. There's theories that vampires exist. There's theories that giants exist. There's theories that dwarfs exist, elves. I believe, honestly, all of those things exist. Some were human created. We all could probably think of it, and then it became a thing after that. Or it was already a thing and we just remembered and made the ideas, but we thought it was fiction. But personally, a person like Jesus isn't crazy to a person like me, because I know about things like enlightenment, and Sadhguru talks about things like the chitta. If you move it forward enough, you can make God your slave. I don't want to make anybody mad when I say that. But when I say that, I think what Sadhguru means is you basically can control time, space, and everything revolving around your own destiny. All the things that God controls, you can control yourself. Not to discredit God or put God lower than us, but it's like you're on the same level at a point, is what I'm saying. And I think that's what Jesus had to learn from his Hindu teachers, or just his divine teachers. Let's not put a race on it. Catholics believe that Mary, his mother, was the divine teacher, and he was just a prophet that came out of her. This could very well be the truth. Personally, I feel like they're both godlike people. And for her to even give birth to a person as powerful as Jesus, you gotta study Mary too, because who was she? How powerful was she? What did she know? How deep in spirituality was she? And a lot of people discredit the divine feminine, but I personally believe that if God was anything, he would be a mother. I mean, not he would be a mother. You get what I'm saying, damn it. She would be a mother. I honestly feel like it was a mother first. He came out of the womb of the mother. You get what I mean? And obviously there has to be a divine father. No way there isn't. But these are things we have to understand. And we have to figure out why the 40-day fast brought Jesus to this realization. The devil was hounding him. Hounding this man, like telling this man to kill himself, all types of things. You know, before his crucifixion, he knew that someone was going to betray him. He knew it. He could feel it in his spirit. And that same person ended up washing his feet. Even when they were on a boat and it was just so much chaos. This man's sleeping and, you know, they're just losing their mind thinking something bad is about to happen. Not even knowing, you know, God on the boat just chilling with y'all like ain't nothing finna happen. I think I heard this story. I'm not sure if it's true, so please don't get mad at me. But it was like a story about him being on the cross and somebody was mocking him on the cross or something and he cursed him or something. I don't know if that actually happened, but I heard that story somewhere. You know, somebody brought him to this kingdom and this high level king wanted to talk to Jesus. And Jesus was just not gonna talk to this guy. Like he really, really didn't give a fuck about talking to this guy. Because he could just see through his bullshit. He could just see it. And, you know, a lot of these people think that, you know, I don't know, like if you even think about that story, you gotta think about like, if you get too self-absorbed with the physicality of this realm, it's like the divine wants nothing to do with you. You become so self-absorbed with the physical world and this physical body that's not even yours that you think you have figured it out because you're rich and powerful and that's it. You have all the women in the world, but you don't know your higher self, your high spiritual self, the thing you came with before you even got here. During his crucifixion, he's looking at the person stabbed. Well, I think before that person stabbed him, I think that person was blind, by the way. He was like, they know not what they do. This man is dying on the cross, and this is what he's saying. Like, this is wild. Like, he has to be beyond some type of, he's just beyond, you know, this. And I don't think he even wanted to go through this. This was just something he had to go through. And, you know, I think like he said, as he was dying, God, why have you forsaken me? And man, this man was just, like his quotes were just so amazing. Like, he was just on another level. Now, to all the people who don't religious gangbang, you are of a higher order, in my opinion. You understand that you have to respect everyone's religion, and there are different sides. You know, when you're in a holy religion, Satanists, you don't really fuck with them. You get what I'm saying? There's different sides of the board. But, you know, you got religious Muslims fighting with Christians, Hindus fighting with
with Muslims and you know, all these different religions just arguing with each other about who's right, who's demonic, who's not. And for me, it's always just been annoying, you know, because I heard this story from a guru, and I've already believed this, to be honest, but this just confirmed it more. And he was like saying, like, he was paralyzed on the ground, and he was talking to Devi, a Hindu god, about, you know, saving him from his paralyzed back. This is Guru Pashupati, by the way. And a Catholic woman appeared and said, "Come here, boy," and fixed his back. And he said he believes that was Devi coming to heal his back. Why is Devi in Christian attire? You know why I think Devi's in a Christian attire? Because high-level spiritual people are worshiping the same God. God just has different names. I keep trying to tell people this, but they think I'm crazy. Like, you really think God wouldn't come here in different forms as different people? Come on, man. Come on, man. And this is when you ask questions like, you know, can you meet God? Can you talk to God? Yes. There's apparently a spiritual practice that certain people know where they can see God in physical form. Guru Pashupati has done this with his people that are in his school. They basically can see Devi or see Shiva, which is very cool. And I honestly feel like people that are high-level Catholics, high-level Christians, and I'm talking of the highest order, like they're always fasting, they're always like trying to connect. I think these people, if they wanted to, could see Jesus in physical form even now, if they wanted to. I think these people are always available. For me, when I started following Buddha, he started appearing in my dreams a lot more. When I started following Shiva and Parvati, they started appearing in my dreams a lot more. When I started doing research on Jesus, he started appearing in my dreams a lot more. I honestly feel like you can worship anything on this planet and it can become God. Anything, even nature. So when people be like, he worshipped a false idol, well, in my opinion, I honestly don't even think it's possible for you to worship a false idol, because everything has the face of God, because God created everything. Now, when it comes to demonic energies, that's just a lower form. You can still worship it, but it's a lower form. So it's like if God had a lower form, you're choosing to worship that lower form, you're gonna get lower, you're gonna get like defects. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you want to worship something that boosts you, or do you want to worship something that takes you lower? It's your choice, and God gives you that free will. So, you know, for me, I was just having this argument with my mom about, you know, religion, you know, because she believes in the ancestors, and I believe everything is God, you know, even the ancestors. But I feel like there's higher level entities, higher level gods that are the highest order. I believe in that. And we were just arguing about, you know, God being good, God being bad. I'm aware that God has a good side and a bad side. We're his children, and we have a good side and a bad side. So what does that say about God? God has a fierce side as well. That's very dark. So, when people be like, God is all good and all nice and all this other shit, nigga, no, he's not. No, she's not. They're just not. God has a fierce form. God can be angry too. God can be sad. God can be happy. God has all the emotions we do. You know what I mean? So it's like when people be like, why does all this bad shit happen in this world? It's a beautiful question. You know, when you see these bad things happen to these people, just know if they didn't do anything to deserve that, their next life will be incredibly, like, way better than the one they had to experience, and they probably won't have to experience that again. But when it comes to past lives and, you know, this weird realm, you know, you gotta question certain things that happen. You know, this guru was talking about this story about this kid that was born into a family where they were arguing with the kid all the time and treating the kid like fucking shit all the fucking time, right? And then the guru looks deep into his psyche and finds out that the kid murdered them in a past life. That's why the kid getting treated so bad by the parents, because it's like, it's just, they can just, it's like what's the word I'm looking for when a woman knows like you're cheating? Intuition. Yeah, they can just feel it. They hate him for some reason, and that's why they hate him, because he killed them in a past life. So you gotta think, the people who die in terrible ways, in very catastrophic ways, and it didn't make any sense, they got kidnapped or murdered in some way. What were they doing in a past life to deserve it in this life? You gotta question. Or maybe they didn't do anything and they just weren't speaking to God enough for protection, or raising their own spiritual level for protection. You know, privilege, power is the privilege of the powerful. I don't know if I'm saying that right. No, justice is the privilege of the powerful. Yeah. So if you don't prepare for war, and war comes and they take your head off and kill everybody in your village, you had 90 days to prepare for that. You know what I mean? And, you know, this conversation is different as it relates to children. I don't really want to get into that. I'm really more so talking about adults. But when people be like, why do children get murdered and stuff like that, I don't even feel comfortable answering that. Like, I feel like that's something only God can answer, or an enlightened being, you know. But, you know, I honestly feel like in this world, people can believe what they want, but to me, the only thing that could be like children is really these bodies. You know what I mean? We are eternal beings. We've been here before, and we'll always be here. We were probably here at the start of this, the start of creation. You know, I don't think this is our first life. I think we've lived many. And once you understand that, then you really understand how fickle religion is, because some religions just let you know. Like Hinduism will just flat out tell you, yeah, you have previous lives you've lived. But certain religions will just hide it, and they won't speak of it. And I never liked that. That's why I'd be like, these religions are very fickle. I don't even think, a lot of this stuff Jesus probably did say, he probably definitely, not even probably, I think he did say a lot of these things. But I also feel like there was a lot of things left out that they didn't want to publish. Like, they hide a lot of things, like Abraham Lincoln being black, you know, a lot of important people in history being black, but somehow being changed to white. They do this through cloning now in our day and age, but I can't really speak too much on that because I have to stay on the religion aspect. But, you know, there's a lot of things missing from Jesus' story that I'm sure that he said to his 12 disciples that never ever got out. You know, these other countries, you know, came to Ethiopia, and Ethiopia already was into Christianity. Actually, they were already connected to Jesus as a whole, and it was the black Jesus too. Obviously their shit got tampered with too eventually, but I feel like they just bit the swag off of Ethiopia and came to Rome, and it was just like, all right, we're gonna just revamp it, basically remix their religion and make Jesus white. And that's what they did. and they just wrote in everything they needed these people to fall in line with as it relates to their religion. And like I said, it's not that it isn't true, it's just that it's remixed. A lot of these religions have been remixed and tampered with. You know, when I see these pictures of the Black Jesus and, you know, Black Mary and, you know, all these stories being shown in the right way, they never, you know, it's crazy. I went my entire life not seeing these images of a dark-skinned God, a dark-skinned Lord. You know, to even be able to take light in your skin, you need a lot of melanin. You know, I'm not saying white people can't be holy or enlightened. I never said that. What I'm saying here is that there are too many stories being remixed and whitewashed for Black people, and it is irritating. Everything is whitewashed. Yes, we finally have a Black Spider-Man. That's amazing. But a lot of superheroes are fucking white. A lot of animes, most of the main characters are white. There's some rare exceptions. Yes, there are some rare exceptions where they make some important characters dark-skinned, but they always end up doing this. And now you got a bunch of brown people worshiping some white messiah that probably doesn't even fuck with them. It's like, it's so disrespectful to me too, because imagine you spend your entire life becoming powerful and it's really to serve your people. You become so powerful, you're performing miracles, reviving the dead, healing people's blindness, making people unparalyzed. And you don't even want too many people to know who you deeply are, but you're doing all of this, and these people write your story incorrectly, quoting you incorrectly, and fucking with what you taught the people. That is the biggest disrespect to any godlike figure. And it's crazy that people did this. They really got scriptures in the Bible that will tell you to obey your slave masters. Like that, bro. God and Lord Jesus would ever say some shit like that, bro. Jesus would knock down tables and shit when he saw some weak ass shit. Jesus wasn't no bitch, bro. He don't play that, bro. That's not that, like, Jesus not putting up with that weak ass, that slavery shit. He's just not putting up with it.
And it's like, I gotta apologize, because it's like, I'm tired for cursing and saying Jesus in the same sentence, but it's like, y'all gotta understand, like, this type of stuff irritates me, you know? It just reminds me of, like, things like Michael Jackson. Like, to Black people, Michael Jackson is like a messiah. Like, the greatest artist of all time, bro. And he was trying to be holy like Jesus as well. And he fasted a lot, you know? He's a very high level being. And they painted him to be this person he wasn't. They real life Jesus him, like, turned him white, all of that. He was Black, they turned him white. Like, like, y'all gotta understand it. And then they painted him to be this person he wasn't. And they do the same thing with Jesus. They paint and change his words, and it can really agitate a person that's highly spiritual, because you want to know the truth and it's hard to fucking find it.
And you know, you gotta think, this was a man that was literally reality jumping. He appears in games, TV shows, our reality. In the Bible, he went to, I think, a place that was like hell, or I think he went to hell, and he was there to basically tell the devil that he is in charge in life and death now. Like, he controls life and death now, which is beyond insane. Like, he was battling with forces that were lower than him, who thought they had more power, but really he had the power over them. And this is the part where I start thinking about Buddha a lot, and how Buddha was able to travel to hell and tell people what he experienced, go to higher realms and show people things like different wives they could have and stuff like that. I believe Jesus was spiritually jumping realities at all times. This was not some normal person. This was an enlightened being, basically. And they say he's supposed to come back and defeat the Antichrist and things like that. And it's funny, it sounds like that avatar in the Hinduism. It sounds like the avatar in Hinduism that comes back. I forgot his exact name, but it's like Krishna's or Vishnu's final form on Earth, or one of his last forms on Earth that hasn't even been seen yet. And he comes back and he restores justice to the planet, basically removing all the evil, allowing people to just live peacefully, right? Right now, I kind of want to speak on the crucifixion. They believe, or at least we were told from most of our childhoods, that he died on the cross, and it was a blind man who stabbed him, and basically, he died there on the cross. But in that time frame, it would actually be more accurate if they hung him instead of, putting him on the cross. I believe to gain the Christ within, you have to reach a state where you can let anything go. The art of detachment is everything. Because you came here with nothing. So why do you feel like you need that person or anything? If God is always with you, isn't that all you need? I know they say we should forgive those that attack us and, pray for those that attack us. But I always think we're actually living in a time where it's like, when you allow someone to get close to you, the chances of them being a threat to you is very high. So it's always been hard for me to honor those words. When Jesus said, pray for your enemy. But it just goes to show his lifestyle was very much beyond. Because a lot of people can't forgive certain things, but somehow he can. Do to others what you have them do to you. I think this quote just means whatever you push out, you'll get back. You see this from people who go after money or sell their soul for fame, and they do it the wrong way, the evil way, and then they come out with nothing, feeling empty, hopeless. But if you just would have went to a God or Jesus or any God that you feel like you should worship, you would have ended up in a better place or a higher rank, if you get what I'm saying. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find it. Knock and the door will be open to you. I feel like when it comes to asking certain gods for things, they definitely will provide it. But I think we shouldn't get used to just asking for the things we want from God, because you got to think, how would you like it if somebody asked you for things over and over again? Even if you had it, you would feel like it's more so transactional. It's not a genuine relationship. I feel like you should try to be you should have a genuine relationship with Jesus, and speak to him as if he's your friend and your guide. And you got to understand, God already knows what you want. So, eventually, if you just keep working and going hard and trying your best, everything will be fulfilled. You just have to have that faith. If you don't have faith in God, then I don't know what, what are you worshiping him for? You have no faith. You know what I'm saying? And
I just feel like this is the truth I feel like I've experienced with God. I've asked for a lot of things, and I'm not going to say that God hasn't given me a lot of the things I've asked for, but it doesn't come like how people think it does. And I feel like people have to earn the things that they ask for, and you have to earn God's respect in certain ways before you even allowed to have it, because it comes with a lot of things that you're not aware of. If you have the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to a mountain, move, and the mountain will move. This is a quote by Jesus, Matthew 17:20. And, I definitely believe this. I think what people have to understand is, as it relates to faith, it's all delayed gratification. The devil is instant gratification. God is delayed gratification. Because you guys have to understand that God has foresight on everything that you've been asking for. He knows the trials and tribulations you're going to have to go through to be able to even have the things that you're asking for. And he knows the pain that comes with it too. So he's not just going to give this to a random 18-year-old or 20-year-old who just thinks they're ready for it now. You have to mature and earn these things. These things aren't just handed to you, and it's for good reason. You probably wouldn't be able to handle it. You get what I'm saying? So understand that and have faith. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your higher power, because if you don't have any faith, then how does it work? I have faith that everything I do will be successful, and I will repeat that mantra until I'm not here anymore, because what else can I do? The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you may have and have it in abundance. So what he's basically saying here is he comes to take care of everything and make sure everything's in place. This is John 10:10, by the way. And a thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. You have to pick up on people's bad habits before it really affects you. If somebody will steal from you, then they could also set you up. They could also destroy your name. There's a lot of different things that can happen when it comes to certain people. And we go around forgiving things or forgiving certain people, but a person that would steal from their closest friend or their mother or their dad or just anybody really close from them and doesn't try to fix it anyway, these are dangerous people, and the longer you have them around you, the more they will ruin your life. And you gotta really understand that wisdom, because a person that would do all this stuff, there's a lot of different ways chaos can happen to you because you're associated with them. You know what? I'll make up a story right now, and this will be a story related to the medieval times. So 3 travelers went out to storm a castle. It was 3 men. One of the men was just friends with the 2 dudes that wanted to storm the castle. He goes with them, and as he's going with them, he's like, guys, I can't take part in this. And they're just like, just come with us, we're gonna just storm it, everything's gonna be fine, you don't gotta kill anybody. He goes and he listens to them, and they end up being captured, and all 3 of them end up being hanged. This is a story I just made up from scratch, but you see how he literally told them he didn't want to be involved, and him being involved with the evil that they were trying to carry out, storming the castle and taking from people and stealing from people, got him hung at the end. So this just proves what I just said about being careful of the company you keep, because if you follow the wrong person, you could end up dead. You know, one thing I always think about a lot is like, what were the personalities of Buddha and Jesus, and what did they laugh at? Like, what was funny to them? You know, how were they to hang out with? I feel like the way these books describe them is somewhat accurate for sure, but it's like it's funny. Like, we'll never be able to see the personality of, you know, Jesus, or Buddha. Like, like we hear stories, but it's like it's just kind of goofy. Like, I wish at some point, I hope I can astral project and actually see how he was as a person and how colorful he was, because I think it's really important to know and feel and understand who Jesus was. But I feel like you can know through yourself as well. Like, people be thinking God is like this strict person that doesn't laugh at anything and nothing's funny, and you disobey me, you go straight to hell. I don't really think Jesus was like that. I'm pretty sure he joked a lot, and I think Buddha did too. So it's like, we gotta just stop putting so much seriousness on religion. A lot of parents, you know, ruin the religion that they put their kids in because they don't know how to add the comedy aspect of God to it. So everybody's always paranoid that they're going to get sent to hell because there's just so much fucking, oh my bad, I'm for saying the F word while we watching Jesus. But it's just so much restriction, you know. There's no freedom to express themselves in this religion. It's always a fear aspect, and I never liked that about the religions. Like, they always try to put fear on you. And I think there's definitely certain things we have to understand won't be fulfilled all the time, because there's a lot of people who have asked God for a lot of things, and I've heard this a lot. Like, they've asked God to help them with this, and it never happened for them. And for my reasoning, I feel like a lot of the time, if God does ignore you, it's either because you don't deserve it, or you're not taking enough time to use the gifts that he gave you. Because clearly, we have almost everything in our power to gain what we are asking for. Mentally, physically, think about the hands we have, like the legs we have. You know, not everybody has these gifts. You know, some people aren't blessed with the ability to walk or anything. You know, they're always stuck in a chair or something. Like, the people, I'm talking mainly about the people that are blessed with all the things to be human. You know, they can see, they can talk, they're not enabled in any way. You know, for these people, I think God be just like, what are you asking me for all of these things for? And I've given you everything to be able to get it. And you got to think about the gifts that we have. A lot of our gifts are dampened because of the physical reality we're operating in now. You know, we have the pineal gland, you know, we have the ability to fast, we have the ability to talk to God. But I think you have to go through certain, you know, for Christians, you have to do certain Christian rituals to be able to get foresight to speak to God, because there were some prophets that could. I think a lot of us can, but it takes a lot of work, and that's for anything. You know, you can't transcend realms and be able to go from earth to heaven and to all the way to hell, back to heaven, by just sitting around. You have to do things to get to that point. I don't know what things you have to do. I'm not the person to ask, but there are some high-level Christians, high-level Hindus, high-level Muslims that are aware of the rituals that it takes to be able to talk to God face to face. And if not talk to God face to face, maybe just, you know, talk to a disciple that he's really close to, like an angel. Like, you know, talk to Gabriel or Archangel Michael,
there's so many like prophets that have ran into angels, and couldn't take the frequency of the angel because the angel was too overpowering spiritually for them. A lot of the time, people think that like they're ready for what they're asking for. We're going back to this because they just feel like they can think about it, they can see it in their head. But think about that thing I just said about the angel overpowering you. Like if an angel appeared in your room, you might not even be able to stare at it in the face, because if you ever watch Bleach, there's this thing called spiritual pressure. And if the spiritual pressure is too high, you literally just can't get up. It's like something is holding you down. It feels like kind of like sleep paralysis. It's kind of like that. So it's like you don't know what things you may be asking for. What if those things are so intense that it holds you down mentally, spiritually, and physically? You got to think about the people who are super successful. The phrase, your favorite rapper is happier than you got to think about that. Or your favorite celebrity is happier than you, or even think about Andrew Tate. He's at the top of the fucking world, a fucking billionaire, and all of a sudden he's in jail, and now he has no access to his money. He can barely get on his phone, and he's just stuck in jail. So it's like the top of the hill isn't always everything it's cracked up to be. And I think he had a quote, actually. Andrew Tate had a quote. He was like, people want to be the king, but when you put on the crown, there's always a sword above your head, and you're always going to be looking up at that sword. And I really like that quote.
And even to be enlightened, I believe Jesus was enlightened. Or to be like Christ, it takes so much. He was almost stuck in like a reality where God was basically asking him to be the sacrificial lamb. And he didn't want to, it's like he didn't want to do it. Like, I think when he got on the cross, he was literally saying, God, why have you forsaken me? He didn't want it to go like that, I feel like. But he just had to fulfill this God-given purpose that he had. The planet never felt normal to Jesus. I think to any enlightened person, you probably would feel out of place because you're this all-powerful person. Where are the other ones around me that are of this same power? And then the world is just so like against everything. He only had 12 disciples in this time. It was really hard for him to turn everybody towards his idea. Then again, I don't know if he was talking to too many people during that time, but the Romans, they got him out the way, man. And it was just, it's crazy. Like he went to hell, came back from the dead, and just resurrected. And I think he immediately went back up to heaven. After that, I don't know if he traveled the planet more after that. I don't know. Or if he just left this realm after he ascended again. But I definitely believe that Jesus was, before he became who he was at 30, I think he was going to different places like India, Japan, because his religion it just wasn't in the US. It was everywhere, man. He went to a lot of different locations. I'm not gonna say every single place made it, but he's in a lot of, like, he's mentioned a lot in a lot of different religions, man. But like I said, he was in Ethiopia way before they got a hold of him. The people who made him white, he was already talked about in Ethiopia. They had a whole Bible, verses, all of that. I think they just took it and remixed it. Feel me? But as to who he was, for him to be ingrained in so many people's minds, even after he left, you could tell he was something serious. Like, to this day, there are still millions, possibly billions of Christians on this planet, and the number is going up. There's also a lot of people leaving Christianity because they aren't getting what they're looking for. But, you know, for a lot of the people who don't get what they're looking for, maybe that's not your God. Maybe that God doesn't like you. But in my opinion, I feel like personally, people ask for too much, and people, I think they're studying the wrong book sometimes, because a lot of the answers that you don't have in the Christian Bible, at least the main one they have us, like the King James one or Revelations, sometimes I feel like they miss a lot of the things Jesus may have wanted us to know personally. And I feel like God gives us the scripture the scripture is in our cells, in our body. He gave it to us already. We don't need to pick up that book to know the scripture. God is right in front of us. God is the oxygen you're breathing, So it's like, you just have to feel it and ask questions until you get that answer. But there's a lot of stories being told in front of you all the time. You just have to be keen enough to figure it out. And when he speaks about lust, it's like, he says, like, flee from it. And the other night, I had like a similar like moment to Jesus, relating to like when the devil was trying to tempt him. I had smoked, and it's weird. Like, when I'm sober, I'm usually like fine. I don't have any issues. But it was like when I smoked, it was like the demons just kind of jumped at me and wanted me to go back to my old ways immediately, trying to get me to mix my energies with lust again and just get me going back down the wrong path. And it was just hilarious, because it was just like they wait until you're most vulnerable to jump, which is smart. But I just find it kind of chaotic that they even did this to one of the highest prophets, Jesus. Like, he's just trying to fast for 40 days, and the devil just keeps coming to him at like trying to tempt him. And they do this with high level men too, to this day. You get to a certain rank, a high point, and now you're getting that knock at the door, and you're either gonna follow suit, or we're gonna throw you in a jail cell, or worse. I don't know why, I just remembered when Russia opened up a picture of the Mary, I think it was Mary and Jesus, and they opened up the photo, and it was a black photo of Mary and Jesus. And I think it's just a testament to the real truth. These other countries don't care to let us know the real truth. They love to show us the real truth. You feel me? And I think that's very important, to know what's actually happening behind closed doors, and who we really are and who we've always been. I really think what they're scared of is people awakening that deep Christ-like self. Because I feel like once you get to a certain point, you can be touched, but it's you kind of become unstoppable. There's like Rick and Morty, where Rick gets to a point in Rick and Morty where he just feels so unstoppable, almost like a god. And I feel like we all can get to that state, but we have to do it either. I think honestly, people can say science. You could try to be a mad scientist, but I feel like the best way to do it is to do it with God, because God is going to he's going to bring you to a point beyond life and death if you understand his ways, and you try and you strive and you stay devoted. I believe God, there's like the art of second chances. Like, you can mess up so many times, but Yeshua will forgive you over and over again, because Yeshua is aware of what you truly are, your deepest self, your raw self, the person you came, the person you came as when you were a baby, and what your true purpose is. your life is gonna help and hinder a lot of people, and your death is also gonna help and hinder a lot of people. You noticed even when certain celebrities or normal people die, things change for other people's lives. It's like a ripple effect. Even when the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk happened, I noticed when I went down the street, it was a bunch of flags all down the road. You know, I might have not known who this man was, but clearly he affected a lot of people's lives. And that is kind of incredible what the human life is capable of, like, doing, and how much we can connect with people while we're here. But in no way am I comparing Charlie Kirk to Jesus. I guess what I'm saying is, when an enlightened being walks this planet and comes to teach and help others, the effect of the God is very powerful. Follow him and follow his teachings, and you'll gain extraordinary power. But it's not something you take credit for this body is not yours. You are just a vessel for God to act. And on that note, I will be closing the insight on Jesus. We're going to go through a lot of other gods. Buddha, Vishnu, Shiva, some of the female gods, Lakshmi, Devi, Pavarti. I got to study them and get more insights on them, and I'll bring out a story for you guys. But other than that, thank you so much for listening. And this was the Religious Insights by Runaway Elisha.